Hey, what's up guys? Signal What Ifs here. Before this video starts, I would like to mention a couple things. I know it's been a while since I've been back. This is mainly due to my health, just not keeping up with my words. I know I said I was gonna upload a video about 3 weeks ago, but my health declined right after that post. Like, it was a day after that I had to go straight back to the hospital. But I'm feeling better now. I'm attempting to make this video probably a one shot, but if not, just let me know. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video. Hey, what's up guys? Signal What Ifs here, and today we are doing a brand new What If. This is a What If that I should have gotten out about a month ago, but you know, my health was not cooperating with me. Like, yeah, no, my body was just not it, chief. Like, no, nah, da. It wasn't. It just wasn't cooperating. Like, I ran a specific set of code for my body, and it failed. Nonetheless, enough the jokes. I am sorry for being gone for the length of period that I was gone for. Nonetheless, this is going to be a brand new What If, and without further ado, let's get into the series. Alright, now we start this beautiful What If off with Jiraiya at the end of his line, as he had just finished writing the message to his loved ones on the information about the pains. He had just written his code, and he is now lying to rest, as he's drifting to the bottom of an ever so expanding lake. As we cut to the Sage of Six Paths, who has been watching over everyone who has been a major influence in the lives of his son's reincarnations. As he then starts thinking, a man who has trained, basically became a sort of grandfather or father to his son's reincarnation, yet taken away so soon. So much wisdom, so much knowledge, so much experience thrown down the drain. There was a world where they would, and actually could, use this experience and skill. That world is a world I've created long ago, once abandoned due to how corrupt it had become. Maybe he can fix it. As he then starts to go down and grab Jiraiya's soul before it had time to pass on. As to Jiraiya, he had just woken up in a void, but to the sage, he had just put him there so that he can talk to him. As Jiraiya was confused on where he was, he had thought that he would have joined his master by now, and his latent pupil, and his wife, along with the rest of the Uchiha clan as well. Well, not the rest, but with the Uchiha clan. As he then turned around and saw a man with two Rinnegan and one massive red swirl in the middle of his forehead, with a long beard and with a description that matched that of the Sage of Six Paths. As Jiraiya would have studied this, he would have known that the Sage of Six Paths is known to be a god, one who transcends time and space. Also, just telling you this now, that is actually true. No, the Sage of Six Paths did transcend time and space to live on the reality he lives on. Like, he literally lives on a fourth dimensional plane. I think you can understand what went down here. But besides that, the sage said, "Come forth, my child." As, yeah, technically everybody is the sage's child because he did give them all chakra. Not gonna lie. So technically he is the father of all of them. Technically. But besides that, he said, "Come forth, my child." As Jiraiya, a little bit reluctant because he just got called a child, but nonetheless, this is someone who is known to be the gods of gods. The only person above him are the higher-ranking Otsutskis. But besides that point, he doesn't know about that. But besides that point, Jiraiya walked up. He touched the hand that had been laid out, as the sage then begins to explain how there's a world that needs him, a world that needs a hero, a legend such as yourself, Jiraiya of the Sannin, Toad Sage, master of Senjutsu. As Jiraiya would have low-key been like he would have been feeling himself a little bit, but not enough because, yeah, he still technically died. But besides that, to go back to him, he then says that this world I abandoned due to how corrupt it had become. Lower class citizens who don't have powers are seen as absolute garbage. They are seen as less than an animal. They are seen as nothing but a bother. Someone who can never manifest in society. Yet those with powerful quirks are treated as if they're deities among men. Such as this #1 hero currently. He's treated as if he's a deity. But I'm gonna need your help to fix this world. As, yes, in My Hero universe, quirkless people are treated way worse than originally in canon. By way worse, I mean quirkless people are seen as lower class citizens. They are seen not even as full humans. They aren't even seen as humans. They're seen as beings who are below humans, devolved humans. They are seen as nothing but mere specks. That's how bad it's gotten. Now you're gonna see what happens to, well, yeah, Deku, quote unquote, but Jiraiya. As Izuku, I'm joking. We're not getting into that yet, but let's go back to this. As the sage is explaining that this world has fallen so far. I had such high hopes for this world, but as time goes on, all I see is that they just become worse and worse. This is my last effort to fix it. If you cannot fix it, then no one can. As Jiraiya starts getting the recollection on how this is similar to the issue in his world, except there's no war. There's no. This is like a second chance to get the peace that he always strived for. Except not in his world because he's dead, but in another. So Jiraiya accepts as the sage and says, "Well then, my child, I will be watching over you. But before you go, I will give you one gift." And Jiraiya's like, what? And that is? I will be giving you perfect sage mode. As he then puts his hand on Jiraiya's forehead, as the markings that would have originally been on Jiraiya's forehead had now solidified a solid red, pupils turning into that of a toad. He had lost all those extra features of being a toad and had just gotten the eyes, signifying perfect sage mode. As Jiraiya would then disappear, as he opens his eyes to a bright light and sees nothing but white walls around him. He hears crying, and then he realizes that he's crying, as Jiraiya did keep his memories. As he then starts to feel tired, starts closing himself off. He starts to fall asleep as he then stops crying and gets put into the arms of Inko Midoriya. Hisashi Midoriya was there this time, Hisashi having white hair and black eyes. He had then seen his child, who was also born with white hair, but he did not see his eyes. He just saw a cute baby boy with white hair just sleeping soundly. As Hisashi then thinks to himself, I'm sorry that I have to leave you like this. As he then starts to feel bad that he has to leave his wife like this, and his child, but he has to work overseas to make money for them, so that they can live. As he is nothing but a quirkless man, who just so happened to find a woman with a quirk that did not hate him, but loved him for who he was. As yes, in this AU, Hisashi is quirkless, and yes, he is treated like shit in this job. And the only reason why he has to go overseas for this job is because they forced him to, just to get him away from his family, just to be dicks. Yes, and this, they did it just to be dicks. Yes. As he then gives his wife one quick kiss goodbye, as he then hugs his son once before he has to go, as he then takes his leave. Time skip about 4 years later. Izuku, while Jiraiya would have been training in secret, meditating, getting a feel for his chakra in this new body, as he then starts to realize that he has almost the exact same amount of chakra he had right when he died. He has all his chakra. He then starts trying to test his abilities, but because he's too young, he can't use them correctly. And this body is not trained. It's not a warrior yet. This body that Jiraiya is in has not been through any hardships, has not been through any training. It needs to be trained in order to use most of his abilities. As he then starts meditating, and then he holds his hands out in front of him, and then he starts creating a Rasengan with both his hands. Once he's created it, he then starts trying to go into Sage mode. Once he does, the Rasengan grows to about the size of a soccer ball. As he then gets out of perfect Sage mode, as his mother knocked on the door, saying, Izuku, we're gonna go head to the quirk doctor now. As Jiraiya would be fascinated by these so-called quirks. He would have hoped that he had gotten one, but he knows that he probably didn't, as Izuku's then taken to the quirk doctor. Once he's there, the quirk doctor then puts his hand on Izuku's head, saying, let's see what quirk you have, young boy. As Izuku would then be happy. He would be jumping up and down as the doctor say, calm down, this will only take a second. As he puts his hand on his head and he's like, ugh, filth, disgusting. As he then backhands Izuku, as Inko's like, what the fuck are you doing to my child? As yes, Inko did curse, because I'm sorry. Mama Midoriya would curse if her child got hurt, okay? Especially if it's by a random man. Yeah, Mama Midoriya would swear up a storm if that happened. Now, suddenly, Inko's eyes go bright green, as she then proceeds to hold the doctor in a chokehold. As she's about to force choke this nigga, as she then pulls him towards her and says, why did you touch my child in that manner? Why did you hit him? As he then says, he's quirkless, he's filth, disgusting. As Inko would have been angry even more that she continues to insult her child right in front of him, as she then proceeds to pick him up and slam his head on the ground full force, knocking him unconscious. As Izuku would not be in tears, but he would be slightly shocked, not by the fact that his mother just did that to him, but how the doctor instantly changed moods when he heard that he was quirkless. As the second Inko turns to see her child, she sees that he's not crying, but just looks shocked. As she then goes up to her child and hugs him and says, I'm sorry, baby. I know you wanted to be a hero. As Izuku then smiles and says, I'm gonna be the first quirkless hero. I don't care if I have a quirk or not. As Inko would smile and would take her child home. As when he gets home, he then thinks to himself, I knew I didn't have a quirk. And it's good that my chakra is not registered as one, or else I would have to be very careful. As he then proceeds to think of what he can do. As he then starts to think. But before he could finish his train of thought, his mom said, Izuku, honey, Katsuki's here. As the doorbell would ring, as Mitsuki had called beforehand telling her that he was at the door. As Izuku would be like, yay, Kachan! As he then runs downstairs. Also, if you're asking why Jiraiya is acting like this, he has to put on the facade he's a 4-year-old, or else people would get suspicious. So he has to act like this. As Jiraiya then thinks to himself, like, ugh, why do I have to keep doing this? As he then goes downstairs and then he says, Katsuki, come on, Kachan, come on. As Kachan then runs upstairs with Izuku, as he then shows Izuku his quirk. He's like, yeah, look, Izuku, quirk's explosions. I can't wait to be the #1 hero with this. As Izuku would be like, whoa, God, John, that's so cool. As Jiraiya is generally mesmerized by this quirk, because it's a pretty unique one. As Izuku would then say, well, you're lucky you have a quirk. I don't have one. As Katsu's like, wait, you don't have one? As Jiraiya's like, no, I don't. As Katsuki's like, ha ha, nothing but a deku. And ironically, if I rearrange the letters in your name, it spells deku. As Izuku would be saddened that his friend that he thought could turn out to be a good hero is nothing but a a monarch, not a monarch, a fake, just like the rest of them. As he then pushes Izuku on the ground and then uses an explosion on him. As of course it didn't hurt, because Jiraiya is, you know, Jiraiya. He has built different durability. As he then proceeds to, what's it called? I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Alright, nah, never mind. He then proceeds to get up and just sit there. As he then says, good riddance. As if you're wondering why Izuku's not, you know, saddened anymore, it's because he's still, he dropped the facade. He's now thinking like Jiraiya again. So, he then starts meditating as Katsuki just left. Not even saying goodbye to Anti-Inko, to his Anti-Inko. As he would tell Mitsuki this, as Mitsuki wouldn't really care, but at the same time, she would still kind of feel bad about Izuku. So, yeah. But besides that, Izuku would be bullied like in canon. When he leaves, when he's 5, he gets bullied by Bakugo and his goons. As we now time skip a rough 10 years, as over these years, Jiraiya has been re-perfecting and perfecting his techniques. As he then started to learn taijutsu all over again, because his body does not have the exact same muscle memory as the one that he had in Naruto's world, in the Naruto universe. So he has to relearn taijutsu. As Izuku, well, Jiraiya would be training, as his mother would soon see that her child is abnormally strong for his age. As he then proceeds to try and do sealing jutsu, Fuin jutsu, because Jiraiya is also a master in that. As Jiraiya did master it, he does not need to retrain his body on it, as he already has all the necessary components, which is his memories. As he then just plays them out through his head and remembers all the techniques he once had, except for taijutsu. Like literally, if we're being honest here, if anybody from the Naruto universe was reincarnated and they mastered something in their past life and they remember everything, the only thing they would need to really do is retrain themselves on taijutsu and chakra control. But if you had perfect chakra control already and you got it very naturally, then you're good. You're golden. Like Naruto, he has perfect chakra control naturally. But besides that, Inko was always about 2 seconds behind Izuku. By that I mean she's always 2 seconds away from seeing him doing something that he should not be able to do unless he had a quirk, because she has not seen him do anything abnormal yet. And that changes today, as Izuku was on his way home after getting bullied again, after having to put on the facade that he was scared, as he then walks through an alleyway, a shortcut. He does this simply because he knows something's gonna happen, as he feels it. As he went willingly there because he wants to test something. As he then activates perfect sage mode. If you're asking how he can do this while he's moving, well, let's just say instead of the toads, he doesn't have any of the summoning contracts in this universe. But what he does have is his chakra. So when he summons something, let's say a toad for example, the toad is going to be made out of energy. It's gonna look sort of like a Susanoo, except way, 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 way smaller and more compact. And he just keeps them on his shoulders at all times, and they just gather nature chakra for him. As he then just does that instead of like anything else. And yes, they are invisible, but they can be visible if he wants them to. So like, let's just say he summons Gamabunta. It's not gonna actually be Gamabunta. It's not gonna have a personality, but it will look like Gamabunta, except it's gonna look like it's made out of some type of avatar-like energy. That's essentially how his summoning contracts work now. Cause I'm not gonna make some weird bullshit where, oh yeah, because he's technically a pocket dimension. No, it's just an avatar, okay? Now, Izuku's in perfect sage mode. He senses the danger coming from the drain pipe, as he then readies himself to attack. As the second the sludge villain comes out, Izuku then makes a gigantic Rasengan and just disperses that hoe. Like, he never actually directly hit the ground or anything, because if he did, he would have leveled a fucking city block. But he did use the rotation of the Rasengan to basically disperse the sludge villain. As Izuku would waste no time, and he would just body flicker around, just picking up the sludge villain and putting it into a bottle. As by the time All Might gets up there, Izuku just throws him the bottle and walks away. As All Might was about to ask Izuku a question, but then All Might blinked once and Izuku disappeared. As Izuku gets home and he's watching the news, his mom's watching it anyway, and she sees Katsuki getting taken by the sludge villain. As yes, All Might did drop it again because he's a fucking meathead. But besides that, Izuku then sees this and he immediately is like, fuck, as much as I hate this kid, I do not want to be the one to save him, but at the same time, as much as I hate him, I can't let him die. As he then body flickers over to the scene. If you're asking if he did it in one shot, no. It took him multiple attempts to get there. As he then gets there, as everybody just sees this kid with white hair, well, white longish hair, and with red markings and pupils that look weird, as Katsuki then sees Izuku, as he then looks at his eyes and he thinks, he had a quirk this whole time? As Izuku then just makes a Rasengan and disperses the sludge villain again, except he did hit Katsuki a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to knock him unconscious, as he then picks up Katsuki and takes him over to the heroes. As Inka would have been watching this and would have been like, what? He doesn't have a quirk, how did he do that? As Izuku then gives Bakugo to the heroes, as the heroes are about to scold him, but Izuku then just says, so y'all would have rather him die, is what you're telling me. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, no, 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 no. Keep your mouth shut. I wasn't talking to you. Now, what I'm going to say is quick and simple. You would have rathered him die than get your lazy asses up and think outside the box and do your fucking job. As, yes, I did say that. Yep. As Jiraiya was low-key annoyed that a bunch of heroes were around and didn't do shit. And he then looks straight at Kamui Woods, who was also near the situation, and says, and you, I'm specifically more pissed off at you. As Kamui looks like, why me? He's like, you know you could have easily just grabbed him with your wood and pulled him out of there, right? As Kamui Wood then starts thinking about it, as he then realizes his fatal error, as he then looks down ashamed as the pros were about to say, as the pros then say, well, some of them say, "Kid, don't disrespect us like that. We're taking you in." As Izuku then says, "Touch me, you're gonna end up like the Sludge villain." As the fucking heroes then remember what he did to the Sludge villain and remember that he's not playing and he would actually do it. As the pros then back off as Izuku then just body flickers home. As Bakugo wakes up and he's just like, the damn nerd had a quirk this whole time and he was playing me like a fool. As Izuku, he's chuckling. Well, Jiraiya, he's chuckling in his head because that was hilarious as shit. As he then walks over to his door and his mom opens it and immediately jumps on him and says, "Izuku, that was dangerous. What would you do that?" As he then says, "Wait a minute." Well, she then says, "Wait a minute. How did you do that? Aren't you quirk? You're quirkless." As Izuku's then like, "Fuck. Guess I have to drop the facade." As Inko's like, "Wait, what do you mean facade?" As Jiraiya says, "Mother, come with me." As he then takes Inko to his room, as he then pulls out one of his number 18 notebooks. If you're asking why it's number 18, it's because this is the notebooks that instead of okay, also just saying, instead of like in canon, he does have quirk notebooks. Those are 1 through 13, but books 14 through 18 are books on chakra and senjutsu and fuinjutsu that he wrote down so that he can memorize them better. As Izuku then shows his mother the books, as she then is like, "What is all this?" As Izuku then says, "Well, I'm not from this world." As Inko's like, "What?" Haha, real funny, Izuku. Now tell me what actually happened. As he then starts thinking to himself, "Damn, I really wish the Sage of Six Paths was here." As if on cue, the Sage of Six Paths appeared. As Inko's like, "Whoa, what? Who are you? Are you a villain?" As Sage of Six Paths Hagoromo just like is like, "No, no, 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 no. Calm down, calm down. I am what you guys would call your god." As she's like, "What?" Hahaha, real funny. Yeah, I must have took something beforehand. Izuku, did you spike my drink? As Izuku's like, "What? Why would I do that?" As he then just like chuckles to himself a bit because like that was a funny joke. As Inko then finally calms down and Hagoromo then explains everything. How your son is still technically your son, but this is the reincarnation of somebody who wasn't your son. So, yeah. As he then explains everything, as Inko finally understands why Izuku's here, why he could do what he do, and what he's capable of. As what the Hagoromo told her was that he was not trying. As yeah, he wasn't. He truly was not. Also, this is still before the 10 months, so yeah. As Izuku has been retraining himself in taijutsu, but he still needs to build up the physical strength again, as he does have the muscle memory down for taijutsu. He just needs the muscle memory, not the muscle memory, the muscle mass and physical strength, along with the flexibility portion. So, yeah. As Izuku then finally lets out a sigh of relief, as Inko then says, "No matter what you are or who you are still my baby boy." As Jiraiya then hugs Inko tightly. As Hagoromo then says, I made a good choice choosing you. In head, by the way, that was in his head. As he then says, alright, now, is that all, Izuku? Well, Jiraiya, as Inko's like, wait, Jiraiya? Is that what his name was? Uh, if you're asking if he explained that, no he didn't. Guys, just saying. Every time I pause, like, out of the story and I mention something, that is me talking. That's not the actual characters. As Hagoromo says, yes. He was called one of the legendary Sanins, Jiraiya. Jiraiya Woldov. Oh shit. Uh so his last name is the village's name, Konohagakure, okay? Sorry. I had to just look for it. Jiraiya's full name is Jiraiya Woldova? Woldov? Okay, so yeah, never mind. Just say Jiraiya. It's just Jiraiya. He doesn't have a last name. I'm gonna just say he's Jiraiya of the legendary Sanin, Jiraiya the Toad Sage. So yeah. As if y'all don't know the ship in this, you'll find out. It's unique. Just letting you know. But besides that, Izuku then trains. Now, before somebody says it, Jiraiya is not going to do no BS training. He is going to actually train, not pull a Midoriya, who just got thrown into a pile of trash, got told to clean it, and apparently walked out of that hole with abs. Like, yes sir, that makes 100% sense. Like, that makes all the sense in the world. Like, really. Sure, he did do side trainings, but the main training was cleaning that beach, and that made no sense. But besides that, Jiraiya is a sensei. He knows how to train. Like, I don't know why y'all think I'm just gonna, like, make him not have the knowledge to train. But if you're asking why he didn't do it over the years, it's because he was too young. And he did do it over the years. But he got sidetracked with having to basically remind himself of everything he learned as a shinobi. So yeah, as Jiraiya would then begin to do some hardcore training, as his mom would see him come home almost exhausted, half dead, as he then just trained himself into oblivion. As over the next 10 months, Izuku has been going to school, but he's been avoiding Bakugo at all costs. Every time Bakugo tries to talk about what happened, Izuku disappears. Every time Bakugo tries to touch Izuku, he blinks and he disappears. Every time Bakugo tries to do anything to Izuku, they blink and he's gone. This continued all the way until the last day of school, where the teacher then is saying his usual line. Roll the clip. Hey, now it's time to write down your careers for the future. As the class is like, aww. As the teacher just says, just kidding. Throws the papers in the air. As says, I know you all want to be heroes. As Izuku looks like he does not care. Like, he doesn't. I'm sorry. He's not gonna care. As to the knowledge of the class, Izuku is still quirkless, but Bakugo is the only one that knows otherwise. As the teacher then starts saying, oh wow, we have 2 applicants from our school going to UA. As they then start thinking, we know Bakugo's one, but who's the second one? As they're whispering to themselves. As to their knowledge, Izuku is still quirkless. As the teacher was reading off the second name, as he stops halfway, it's like, Kid, be realistic. You're useless to society. The best you could do is be used to reproduce. As the teacher then says that, as Izuku gets slightly annoyed, as to the class's eyes, Izuku just disappears and reappears in front of the teacher, as he then puts him in a chokehold and says, "You want to tell me that I can't be a hero over a technicality?" As the guy is choking, as he then says, "No, no, 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 I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." As Izuku then just says, "Nope, no, 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 no. You told a kid that he cannot be a hero due to a technicality. Do you not understand how stupid that sounds?" As the rest of the class is starting to think about it, as he then says, "You're trying to tell me that everybody in here has a shot at becoming a hero, and but me because of a technicality, even though half the quirks in here are a complete joke, except for Bakugo." As Bakugo was gonna say something, but after you hear that, he stopped himself. As the teacher's like, "What do you mean?" As he says, "What about Bakugo?" As Bakugo says, "Nah, I agree with the nerd on this one. Besides me, everybody in this classroom's quirk is a complete joke." As the class starts to like low-key rethink their life choices, as they do realize that their quirks are basically useless in battle in almost any aspect of becoming a hero. As Izuku drops the teacher on his ass and says, "You really want to test me? You really want to test me? Also, I may be quirkless, but I'm still more powerful than everyone in here." As the class was about to start laughing, as they were expecting Bakugo to say something, but when they heard Bakugo say nothing and reluctantly look out the window, they knew that Izuku was not lying when he said that statement. As over the 10 months, Bakugo has sort of chilled out. He hasn't tried bullying anyone, but because like after a few times of Izuku just disappearing, he just gave up. As he just settled on the fact that, yeah, he's stronger than him. He just kind of settled on it. As the goons, they were about to say something, but Bakugo just looked at them and nodded and shook his head no. As we time skip to the end of the day, as if you guys are asking why I said the 10-month time skip was before the actual end of the school day, I'm gonna say this. The reason being is that I found it complete nonsense how people call that the end of the school day, yet like the end of the school year, yet they had another 10 months after that. Like that made no sense. But besides that point, we're still in the 10 months, by the way. I haven't said it completely passed, but we have about 2 months left, and these 2 months are for the summer. As over this break, Izuku has gotten all the skills that he once knew in his previous life in this one, as he then starts to train with combos such as the Gamabunta oil, like the oil release fire style jutsu he used on Orochimaru. And yeah, before y'all say anything, he has all his jutsus. He has basically everything he should have. As by the way, instead of like normal like, how should I say, normal ways to carry objects, he just seals it within a part of his clothing. Even his clothes are sealed in parts of his clothing. He has extra sets of clothing sealed underneath, on like the shoulder part of his skin. He has an extra seal for extra clothes just in case his clothes get destroyed or anything. He also has one for food and one for water. So yeah. Nonetheless, your boy's taking advantage of that ceiling jutsu. That Foi jutsu, yeah, he's taking good advantage of that. As we now cut to the entrance exams. As that's where we're gonna end it off, people. Now, again, I am sorry that I was gone for so long, but I am gonna be uploading more. Well, whenever I'm not working now, because yeah, I am working now. But besides that, this is gonna be the end of the first part of What If Deku Was Jiraiya. The next part we will be talking about the entrance exam and all that stuff. Now, without further ado, this is goodbye.